Punished, isolated and persecuted because they prefer to smoke marijuana than drink alcohol. We had 500 people up here on the porch 3 or 4 weeks ago in a gathering. There was a tremendous following of people who are demanding marijuana law reform. But the issue is going far beyond just doing something for our culture. We've got to do something for our future. We can't allay fears with lies. It doesn't work that way. We've got to come up with solutions. We've got to come up with solutions that work. You hear about talking about replacing forests, regeneration of forests. They're not going to be able to do that until they start trusting the normal person in the street, the lay person, the persons who can do the hard work, the organising, the care and control of the subject matter for kibbutzim, for environment repair kibbutzim or ashram in this country. It's been a long time since I've been able to speak. Fortunately, I've got the speaking box here and we can get a little bit of volume. But it's time we come to terms with the facts. And the facts are that global warming is a real issue, not just for Australia, but for the whole planet and for the future of our planet. And that's all generations to come. It's the time we had plans, it's the time we had people with imagination and determination encouraged to put forward ideas and carry them through. I'm not going to talk for very long because it's rather chilly out here today on the Sunday in midwinter. It's just to let you know that we're still here, we're still having this Speakers Forum and our right to speak. It's our last, probably our only chance we get to speak most of us, except through the internet, which is a pretty banal form of communication if you ask me. We don't talk to one another eye to eye anymore, we talk through a keyboard. As impersonal as you can possibly get. It robs you of your character, it robs you of your strength.
He's not even facing the audience.
That's the internet. Don't go out and make people stay at home. There are people in Japan, children in Japan who stay indoors all the time. Their parents just slide their food under the door to them. It's an indictment of our community that we can't go out on the streets of the night time without fear of serious assault.
Hey, pull it away, pull it away.
I'm not going to get further away from it than that.
Yeah, you need to, man. It's
distorting. Loud, is it?
It's distorting. It's too far away. Yeah, that's better, but not,
that's better?
Not so close, man.
We need to have a contingency plan for the future of this country, but it must include a new universal picture. The entire planet is in peril, and we've got to think globally. This reliance on industrial expansion and consumerism is not the way. It's not going to give us the breaks. It's not going to give us the peace of mind that we need to be able to settle and enjoy our lives. It keeps us in slavery and in fear. As I said, I'm not going to talk for very long. This is just a reminder that we're still here. The Speakers Forum in the park continues and will continue. We need to express ourselves. We need to be able to compare ourselves. If we don't talk to one another, we won't learn one damn thing, except what we're told through books, through newspapers, and through the media.
Hey, mate, can you pull the mic away a bit? Because it's distorting when you hold it so
Sorry,
close.
I'm having trouble with this microphone. It's a little bit cheap, but it's time we came to terms with the fact that there's got to be a future for us, and we have to make it a future for ourselves. We have to have political leadership that gives us a future, not just questions and answers, but a future, a guaranteed future. We have to apply ourselves to environment repairs, not just a global warming trade-off, but a real contingency plan that gives our young people an identity and a place to move forward into the future.
Hey mate, how are you, buddy? Mate, yourself? Good, mate.
We can't leave it to the next generation, which has been the way out for these politicians for generations past. Leave it to the next generation. If we don't start now, when will we start? That's why I refer to marijuana law reform as a key issue. If they aren't prepared to shift and give ground on marijuana law reform to prevent the persecution of individuals and the denial of their rights to do with their body what they wish, you can do anything you like to your body, but I'm not allowed to smoke marijuana apparently. You're not allowed to drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes wantonly. But you're not allowed to smoke marijuana legally, as you are in South Australia and other states of Australia. It's time we had a referendum on the issue. It's time we had a referendum on several issues, including the environment and what we can do. We should be calling for people to stand up and be counted as leaders of tribes of people prepared to go out to our environment, to be escorted to our environment and established in communes or kibbutzim to regenerate our environment. One tree that's been logged needs to be replaced with 5, and that's not just for Australia, that's for the whole of the planet. We can see things are changing. We have a choice. The choice is to go into denial or become active. Speak to one another, demand a referendum, not only on marijuana law reform, but on your environment and global warming. We need to have a plan, we need to have a contingency plan that relies upon the individuals drawn from the community as leaders for the rest of the community so that we have a chance into the future. We can tear up the ticket and throw it away and just go to work. What on earth are you working for if you have no guaranteed future? If you have no plan for the future? Just a token effort, 5% reduction, that's absurd. It has to go further and it has to have a plan that's all embracing. If it's good enough for Chile, it's good enough for Australia. Nationalise our resources instead of squandering them with upgrades and upgrades and upgrades and upgrades. That's what it's all about. That's where our mineral resources and energy is going and where the pollution is coming from. Upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Who needs it when your future's dependent on getting back to your environment, getting in touch with your environment? And the way to do that is through your meditation and yoga. There are alternatives to consumerism. You've got to have a social if you're going to send the rest of the planet down the toilet, down the tube. It's time we had a contingency plan that included our young people instead of closing them off and pretending that there's no social injustice, no violence problem, no drug problem, no escapism that's prevalent. Denial is not an excuse. We've got to come up with solutions that are guaranteed for our future generations, for our young people. And that's the way to do it, is to employ them in the environment restitution. We must employ our young people in repairing our environment, regenerating our environment. It's our only hope, and to do that we need to trust people who be in charge. The law doesn't escape people, and nor do people escape the law. If you have an organisation that's run lawfully to do work for the environment, it's just the same if you were working for the Shire Council. You have to have a plan or you're left vulnerable to the seasons that are increasing in intensity all the time. We don't get wet anymore, we get drowned. And it won't just get hotter, it'll get extremely hot, drier. For Australia, we're facing a future without water, without a real regular supply of water. We have people who won't even recycle the water that drains from our streets. They haven't got that far yet. They haven't jumped up and said, yes, what they say is we'll build a refinery, we'll extract water from the ocean.
Yeah.
A salination plant. Instead of doing the things that are important immediately, they'll pretend that they're doing something and expend a hell of a lot of money to promote it.
It was called the Hub House.
As I said, I'm not going to talk for a long time. This is just purely and simply to let you know that the forum is still operating once a month, the first Sunday of the month. We speak to people in the park here to try and encourage debate and thought. As you make your way home this evening, think about your prayer and meditation. If there's going to be a power and a force that's greater than the human mind and human endeavour, you have to bring in the spirit world, the spirit reality. Draw upon a higher power with faith that we can step out into the future, a brave new world. We don't have to accept that our environment is going to be dictated to us by those people who exploit the environment rather than regenerate their environment. It's the time the people who profited the most paid, and paid dearly for the privilege of living in luxury while the rest of the community in slavery to consumerism. It's time we had a contingency plan that included marijuana law reform, because we need something, a social beverage that doesn't create division and violence. We need to be able to sit down and communicate and learn and work together for the sake of generations to come. If we fail to do this, we fail the very purpose for our being. We procreate, we have children, we say we're creating a future for them, and in the very same breath we say, no, we won't worry about a carbon trading tax. We won't do that, we won't go that way. We'll do nothing. We'll do what we've always done, pretend, lie and deceive the people. It's time we had leadership that people said, I'm game enough to step across the line and say, this is possible. Let's imagine a future where we can work together, not for the man, but for ourselves as a nation. John F. Kennedy said it. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And there are a lot of people on skateboards who'll tell you they do fuck all for their country. They don't have time for anything for their country, let alone the opportunity. We don't invite them to join organisations that are dedicated towards reforestation. We don't ask them to join an armed service to defend their country. We don't ask them for anything except behave yourself. Behave yourself, we say. Do what you're told. While in the very same breath, in the same movement, we condemn them to extinction. Because that's what global warming's all about. It's not about just getting warmer and drier. It's about our future prospects.
There's no extinction. There's no extinction on the horizon. Come on, man.
There is certainly an extinction on the horizon.
No,
don't you worry about that. It's as obvious as the nose on my face. You cannot You cannot go on destroying your environment. You support life support
you just
systems.
keep adapting.
Your natural environment, life support systems. I'll give you an example.
We can live in a glass house if we have to.
3 years ago, the ocean's current stopped entirely. The ocean current stopped entirely for 17 days. That's unprecedented. It's never happened before. That's what causes the ice to melt in the glaciers. That's what will cause the oceans to rise and a third of our living space eroded. Awash. We're not taking it serious because we're being told not to take it serious.
Mate, I can't take you seriously.
They feed us
with what you're
lies
saying.
and they keep us in bondage. They don't give you the chance. There was a gentleman in the news recently, a man who had paid his crime, he'd done his time,
Good to see you,
paid for his crime, and he was organising a youth redemption from drugs and giving them a chance to see their country and develop their character. Instead of being given support, he was given the sack, condemned. They don't want to lead, and they don't want leadership. They don't want to encourage leadership from the community. So what does our government want us to do? They want you to be silent and consume. They want you to pay your taxes so they can live in luxury while they delude themselves that they're actually leading us somewhere.
Exactly.
They haven't got a plan and they don't want a plan because they get it too damn good just clocking on and clocking off.
Exactly right.
They run a country, they run this country not for the greater mass and the greater good of the humanity around them, they run it for themselves. That's what they've always been about.
And they get away with it too.
And they get away with it unchallenged, as the gentleman said. That's why we've got to say, legalise marijuana. Give us an issue where we can say to our government, listen, this is one issue where you can show us that you're actually listening to the people. If one person has walked away with an idea that we can actually show our young people that we're not just down on them about everything, it seems to me they've got a law against everything, including having fun for our young people. We're not teaching them how to relax, we're teaching them how to compete and how to fight and get into gangs.
You got to compete.
Solidarity that way rather than through their union.
If you don't compete, you get walked over. You got to compete, brother.
If you don't compete, he's right. If you don't compete, and the best way to compete is as a union, in your union.
No, that's the worst way.
Our union has let us down because they don't care about their environment. They worry about employment. Full employment is just as much an illusion as the 5% emissions reduction trade-off. It's an illusion, it's a waste of time, but at least it's a step. If these people can go one step further and say we've got to do something about regenerating our environment and say we'll legalise marijuana if you follow the line of thought, we'll say we'll encourage people to live alternatively. Don't force them into consumerism and productivity and the environment consequences, the negative environment consequences. Let's talk about employing people to live together collectively to regenerate our environment, to put trees back in the ground. 5 for every one we've logged. I'm told that there's an oil slick over all the oceans and all the seas that's cutting off the exchange through the plankton of CO2.
Well, that's not true.
That fact is the truth.
An oil slick over all the oceans.
There's an oil
I can't see it. I can't see it in Port Phillip, mate.
That's vaguely perceptible, but does the job. This is scientific evidence.
No.
We're smothercating the very source of our oxygen supply.
No.
Our plankton.
You're talking claptrap again.
Never, mate, never do. Never do. This is fact. This is what the House of Learning is all about, a library. You don't go to the internet to communicate unless you're just an idiot. To communicate with others like yourself over the internet and Twitter. You go there to learn, just as you go to the library to learn. If you don't get the truth, you're living in an illusion. Talking about a future for our country and we can't see one, then you're in the dark. And we need solutions, and prayer and meditation is the way to find those solutions. It's where we find the trust in one another to commit to environment regeneration. To get kids out of the city onto kibbutz and communes, you're going to need more than law and order.
Come on, not this kibbutz stuff again.
That's where it's at. We've got to, even the Liberals are warming to the idea.
No, they're not.
We've got to put trees back into the ground. We've got to farm in such a way as to produce the negative impact.
You heard of Jonestown? Brian Jonestown? That was the kibbutz experiment.
With the environment.
That was a kibbutz.
That had nothing to do with the environment.
Yeah, but it was an example of a kibbutz.
No, it's not.
Where they all chipped in to help each other and
anyway,
it went sour.
as I said to the gentleman before, I'm not going to continue talking tonight because it's a little chilly. There's not many people listening. And I just wanted to reinforce the knowledge that this Speakers Forum is here once a month now until summer. And if you want to get up and speak, please feel free. That's what it's here for, so that you can actually have your say. I believe in marijuana law reform not just as an issue for the individual, but for the community.